Ooh, my feet were cold. And let me pull this up on my phone.
Oh, goodness.
Okay.
See if it pops up.
So it's live. Let me go back to Zoom. Yep, we're live. Is this Legacy Builders? Yeah. Yep. Turn it down. Okay. Yep.
I'm trying to tag people. Hey, Cheryl. Thanks for joining us again today.
Hi.
You're always awesome. Thank you for joining us. Click share and invite whomever you'd like. It's going to be a great conversation today. We're talking about beneficiaries. Hi. You're always awesome. Thank you for joining us. Click share and invite whomever you'd like. It's going to be a great conversation today. We're talking about beneficiaries.
Is that my side?
Let me see. Let me turn the volume down. There we go.
Oh, okay. I thought it was okay.
Me echoing.
There we go.
That's great. Since you just invited all 5,000 of her friends.
Hey,
Is
that
awesome.
works. Yep.
All right. We're going to go ahead and get started. We have an amazing topic today. And thank you guys for always joining us here every Saturday, for taking out a few minutes just to get some knowledge and information of how to create that long-lasting legacy of wealth for your families. And today we wanted to talk about beneficiaries. So once you have the money, what do you do with it? So we have myself here, Sandria Gorey, and financial coach Marshall Weeks.
Hello, hello.
Let's see. The first one we're going to talk about is life insurance beneficiaries. And it's so funny. It seems like everybody's kind of on the same page with this. I just got a notice from my employer, like, check your beneficiaries, make sure nothing's changed. And we don't think about it sometimes once it's set, that we need to make sure that we have the right people in place to make sure that whatever we want to go out in fruition after we're passed or after we've gone away gets handled. So when you pass away, what you leave, excuse me, to your loved ones is important, but so is how you leave those assets. Determining the right assets to leave to different beneficiaries is an absolutely critical part of effective estate planning. So think about that. Not only who you're leaving it to, how much you want to leave to someone. Of course, even if for those of you that have small children, it's not good to leave money to children at such a young age unless you have someone that's kind of, trustworthy to make sure that they get what they need at certain points in their life to kind of help them maneuver through it. So make sure you take a look, because relationships may have changed since the first time that you set up your beneficiary. So you just want to make sure you have the right person in place that's going to be able to take out and carry out the plans that you left. Okay.
So, as Sandria was saying, who is your beneficiary? How do they manage their money? Do you have a good relationship with them? How often do you talk to them? Do they understand what it means to be a beneficiary? How did you choose them? Was it an emotional decision? Was it a logical decision? What works better for you, leaving your inheritance to an estate or an individual? So something that I can share personally is that, so when my dad died, my mom, we were pretty young, like I was 14 and my second sister was, what was she, 10, and then the other one's 9. So if something had happened to my mom, we were minors. So my aunt for the longest time was the beneficiary. And my mother told us that, if anything happens to me, your aunt is in charge. But thank God my mom lived to see us all grown, and then she let us know. I changed it to the four of you because we were all at least 18 years old. So it's you need to make sure that the person that you're leaving your money to is going to do what you want them to do, which is why I think it's important to have a will.
Yes.
Because unless it's like your kids or something like that, and like, what if you only have, I don't know, you pass and your child is a minor,
Mm-hmm.
you just want to make sure those hands are trusted hands, and those hands are going to manage the money well, and the money's still going to be there when the child gets of legal age.
Oh man, that's so important. We have a question here. Then would you need an executor, right? An executor to take over that for you? Yes, you would. Like Marshall said, if someone is a minor, then you would have a person that executes all of those things that you've set in place for you. So that is very important. And I love what Marshall said about having a will in place. Because even though you may divvy up the money that's left between your children, what if there's a house or some type of other things like that that you want to be divvied up? It's a good thing to put those things in a will so that everyone knows exactly what your expectations were and no one's assuming. You would be surprised how many family battles begin just because, emotions get involved when there's time to split up the estates and everything.
So true.
Right, life insurance proceeds. So life insurance proceeds or policies are paid to the beneficiary relatively quickly. So once proof of death is established, the funds are normally paid within days or weeks. So you want to consider who may be ready to access the funds after you die. Rarely, again, is that a minor. So, and if you do name a child and fail to name a guardian or place that proceeds in trust, the state may take over and assign someone to manage that money on your child's behalf. So it's very important that you have it in writing. Who do you want to be a guardian over your children, over the money for your children in the event that something happens to you and they're still young? So make sure that is in writing, and go ahead and have those conversations with your family. Where you keep your will, what are your wishes? It's those conversations that are hard, but I even find myself here lately talking about it, to my youngest daughter who's 16. Well, Bianca, this is this, my other daughter knows this, but I want you to know this and how many I have here. So you know where to pull everything from and
Right.
where it's located, because it is very important. We want to make sure your families, all of this wealth that you've set up for them gets into the right hands.
Right. And you don't want to leave your inheritance to the government.
No.
Because they're just, do you need a will if you have just one child? Yes, I would
Yes.
say have a will even if you don't have any kids, because you're going to build assets.
Yeah.
And Sandria said it right. It is, I have lost people in my life at an age where I could see and hear the conversations, and
Yeah.
people get really ugly when
Yeah.
it's time, especially if they feel entitled to something, whether it be a home or part of the money or I mean, people, you would be surprised
Yeah.
at the things that people get upset over, dishes and
Yes.
clothes. And
Right down to a vase. It's crazy.
it
Yeah.
is. And so it's just better to have a will so you can just keep that element out of it. And just keep the element out of it and just have a will and just write it down. And if you
Mhm.
want it to all go to charity, write it down. Just,
Write it down. Yeah.
and then
And it's
tell
so
someone.
easy. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so easy. There's all kinds of information. I mean, you can literally Google how to create your own will and take it to your bank and have it notarized, and that will suffice in court. So
Hmm.
make sure you have that in place. All right.
Oh, so assets distributed through a will. So we're in the state of Georgia, Sandria and I. So here in Georgia, once the person or the testator, look, that's like vocabulary word there. Once the testator passes away, you need to file the will in probate court. And so a
Mhm.
testator is a person who has made a will or given a legacy. And again, if you know you've been asked to be executor of a will, like ask them, is it in writing? Because here's an example. Let's just say, like, I live in Georgia. I'm not from Georgia, I'm from Virginia. And let's just say maybe 10 years ago, I could have told someone, hey, when I pass away, I want you to be in charge of everything. But 10 years ago, I didn't have a husband and I didn't have kids. Now, let's
Yeah.
say something happens to me and then that person comes down here to Georgia. They're like, well, she told me that I was supposed to be the one to do everything. And, my husband's looking like, well, I don't even know who you are. And what are you talking about? So
Right.
it's, these are the conversations again, have the person to put it in writing. And then like it says here in Georgia, the will be filed through the probate court. And again, another personal story and that I have, when my mom passed, she didn't have a will. But in the state of Virginia, and I don't know the technicalities because that's something that we kind of just maneuvered our way through. None of us knew what we were supposed to do, but we did know that we had to go to probate. We had to sign forms pretty much stating that we were the only the survivors, the children, because when someone passes away, the children, if there's no spouse, whatever, it automatically is, the estate's going to go to the children. So we had to sign something pretty much saying that we split it up between the four of us and that there was no one else that could contest it, like we are the kids. So you will have to file the will in probate, but if you don't have a will, again, you're leaving your assets or whatever you've built, you're leaving that up to the government, your state, to make the decision. And laws are not emotional. There's no humanness to laws. So they're gonna do whatever is written, whether what is written was written back in 19 such and such. So we can't stress enough how important it is to put these things in writing.
Yeah. And I think it was when I was looking up early from the question that you asked, I was like, let me go back and take a look at this because every state is different. And it says in Georgia, it's the only state where you can contest a spouse. So every other state,
oh, I did not
you have
know
to
that.
make sure you have it in writing.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the only state. Yeah, the will is a must. Interesting. Yeah,
That is very interesting. Oh my good, that's kind of scary.
it is the only state. Yeah. So a will, a will, a will.
Yeah, good to know. Wow, I learned something today.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. So research, I tell you. Retirement plans are equally important. Choosing the right beneficiaries, and we don't even think about this one sometimes. We set up our plans for retirement, and we have our money and everything in place, but we don't think about what happens to that money if something happens to us. So make sure you're choosing the right beneficiaries of your retirement plans. Can have a major tax implications. Okay, the younger the recipient, the longer the life expectancy, and the longer they have to withdraw the funds from the plan. So in the meantime, the account can continue to grow tax deferred. In short, a person who's 50 years old has a shorter life expectancy and must withdraw those funds at a faster rate than a person who's 20. So all of that comes into consideration. Also consider naming a trust as a beneficiary of a retirement plan. Assets left in a trust can enjoy asset protection from creditors, while a retirement plan inherited outside a trust does not. Plus, if a beneficiary is relatively young, a trustee that you designate can make distributions under conditions that you stipulate when you create the trust. So if for whatever reason that person, the young minor, may need money for college or a car, the person that's the trustee has permission to distribute those funds as needed. But, again, make sure you have the right person in place that's going to be sure to take care of that for you. Finally, make sure that the beneficiaries named in your retirement and other financial accounts are consistent with your estate plan. Oh my gosh, it's so important. So for example, if your son John is named as the beneficiary of your 401k plan and your daughter Sue is a beneficiary in your will, the 401k plan designation supersedes the will. Isn't that something? And John will receive the proceeds. So, oh my gosh, make sure everything is balanced out. Again, I can see a whole battle starting there.
Right, right,
So just make sure that you understand what you're doing and have those conversations with your children. And again, if nothing else, put it in writing so that everything's understood up front. Wow. Melanie said that was a good question about the will, because her mom didn't think she needed one for her. And Melanie, I'm assuming you're only child, and we don't think about that. But you have to consider, what if your parents pass away when you're young? Like, who's going to take care of that for you? You want to have it stipulated so that the state has no say so in what that legacy that your family's built for you.
right. And that also keeps the peace with family members, because that's important as well. It's so much going on in your mind when someone passes away, and to argue over stuff,
Yeah.
which is probably anger, grieving, and we're human, we don't know how to handle our emotions sometimes, and so it's just better to have it all written out, or at
Yeah.
least call a family meeting, the next big family get together, talk about it,
Yeah.
discuss it. What are we going to do with the house? Do we want to keep it in the family? um, Back in my grandparents' day, they were of the belief that the house goes to the son. And so when my grandparents passed, the house went to my uncle who lives in it. But my aunt and my mom didn't have a problem with it because they had already moved out of town. But I was able to visit my grandparents' house probably about a month ago, and it
Mhm.
just felt so good to be in there. And I'm very happy that he kept it,
Yeah.
because even though they're gone, that's still their house, and you can just feel them when you're in the house. So just talk about it. Don't be afraid to talk about it. Put it out there on the table, and that way everyone is on one accord, and there are no surprises,
Yeah.
when that time comes.
That's good. And I see Cheryl made a comment. She said she never did. She was an only child, and when her mom died, it was handled without any issues. That's a blessing. So
Good.
did your mom have people that were an estate over her finances, or how was that handled to make sure everything was taken care of for you, Cheryl? Let me give her a few seconds to answer.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Even like people who don't have kids, because just because you don't have
Mm.
she said she had a
She had a
trustee.
trustee. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, even as a single person, just because you don't have kids, or don't have a spouse, that doesn't mean that you don't need a will.
Right. Yeah. Because like you
Yeah.
said, you may have agencies that you want, charitable people that you want your money to be able to go to. So it's always good to have that in place. That's really good, because I wouldn't have thought to bring that up when you're single. But yeah, it's still good to
Yeah.
have a will. Hmm.
Yeah, because I think it could, how we may think, well, I don't have any kids, or I don't have a husband. So, but yeah, you still want someone to carry out your wishes. Do you want to be cremated? Do you
Right.
want a funeral? Do you want an open casket? I mean, there are questions for days
Yeah.
that, at the end of it all, people just do what they think you like, or
Right.
what they think is nice. But, we have that, I don't know, we have the freedom of making our own decisions, and also, you know, to take the burden off of our
Yeah.
loved ones. That's all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it can be a stressful time, and we want to make sure that, everything's as peaceful as it can be. Yeah.
Hmm.
Man, I enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, it's always a good one. And we're gonna um um
Hmm.
Cheryl, did you read what she wrote?
Yeah, she said everything was just left to her and her dad. However, she did realize there were people that knew her wishes when making those arrangements. So that's still important, right?
Yeah,
So she took the time to have those conversations with the people that she trusted, once again, to make sure that those her decisions and her arrangements were taken out in her behalf,
right.
without the emotion being a part of it.
Absolutely,
So I like that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to continue this conversation on Clubhouse
Yeah.
tomorrow at 5:30.
5:30.
Yeah, so we'll discuss this a little bit more and see what people think as far as beneficiaries, because again, we hear about this all the time. Like, your job may email you, like Sandria was um stating, and I think at the time we're filling out that form, we just
Right.
throw whoever, because you're trying to get through
To
it,
get
right?
done. Yeah.
And so sometimes we need to give it some more thought or revisit it. Just revisit it.
Right. It doesn't hurt, I guarantee you. Because even looking back at mine, like you said, I kind of rushed through and I was like, oh, I need to flip flop this.
Right. Yeah.
And
Right.
so I was glad that that came out to just to take a second look and make sure, if nothing else, names were spelled correctly.
Right.
So it was really good. So thank you guys again so much. We appreciate you every Saturday for taking
Every
out your time to
Saturday.
join us here. We really, really appreciate it. We hope to see you at Clubhouse tomorrow at 5:30.
Yeah. Enjoy your Saturday.
Enjoy your Saturday. Bye, guys.
Bye.